are the best tool for self-empowerment and for change, because what they do is that they give you a really good understanding of who you are. Once you understand who you are, and then you can start to change, then you can start to empower yourself. Now what archetypes do is that because they have both positive and negative characteristics, you can look at the negative side and the negative personality traits of that archetype and say, oh, this is how I operate. Oh, I would like to change that aspect of me, or I would like to change that situation that I'm in. And so then you look at the positive side of that archetype and you say, oh, this is where I need to move to. And so once you start eliminating those negative personality traits and start working on the positive personality traits, your whole persona changes, your whole world changes. Now, I'll use me as an example because I have a very strong coward archetype. Now, coward archetypes are really great. They keep you safe. They protect you. You really won't do anything silly or put yourself in harm's way. So that's a really good positive side of the coward archetype. But of course, the negative side is that it stops you from doing the things you really want to do. And I ask all people with coward archetypes, what's their excuse? And it's things like, oh, what will people think? I'm not qualified, I'm not ready, don't have enough money, not enough time. Mine used to be procrastination. Okay, my favourite saying was, never do today what I can do tomorrow. So I used to put things off all of the time. And so this was my coward archetype at work, very subtle, sometimes not too subtle, but often very subtle. And so it sort of delayed what I wanted to do. And so when I came to this realisation that I had a coward archetype, I thought, okay, this is the first one that I'm really going to work on. And I remember about probably 2 years ago, I do a little exercise in my level 2 archetype workshop. And I get the people to work through their 12 archetypes, look at the negative word or phrase that best describes them, and look at the positive word or phrase that best describes them, and then I get them to write 2 stories. One with all the negative words and then one with all the positive words. It's a very interesting exercise, transformative in its nature, absolutely brilliant. I've seen people change totally. So I thought to myself while I was doing this, oh, I haven't done this for a little while, perhaps I should do it. So because I sat there, opened my book, and there was the coward archetype, because it's in my second house, which is my house of values. And I went through all of the negative words and phrases, and I realised that not one single one of those words or phrases now applied to me. I had changed myself totally. I had moved from all of that negative side to the positive side. And so now I don't procrastinate, okay? I take notice of what my wife's been saying for a number of years, and my little 2-year-old granddaughter, do it now. If you're going to do something, do it straight away. If you're not going to do something, then say you're not going to do it. And that was just me changing my coward archetype. And the same thing applies to any other archetype. It doesn't matter what it is. You just look at the negative side of that archetype, and then you change it to the positive side, and you just work on it. And because archetypes give you an understanding and an awareness of who you are, then you can do that. If you don't have that understanding, or you don't know who you are, or you don't have the awareness, then you just live your life, basically, and you just continue doing what you're doing. And so situation doesn't change. If you're in a negative situation or a situation that you don't want to be in, it just perpetuates, it just goes on. But once you get that archetypal understanding of who you are and how that archetype works, because then you can change things. Now, the other thing that I do in my very first workshop is that we put our individual archetypes into the astrological houses. And what that does, that gives you a really good understanding of how you operate in the different areas of your life. And so again, you can look at that and say, okay, what am I doing in my creative house? What archetype is in there? And what negative part, negative energy of that archetype that I'm using that I can then change to the positive. And this is a really important way that you can empower yourself and change the circumstances in which you find yourself.